Emma.
So it's 9:45 and that means it is
Yep.
time to introduce our guest speaker for today. And our guest speaker today is a wonderful woman who I've known personally for many years, and she's been a sales expert for over 20 years. And you may know her as the Entrepreneur's Godmother, because that's one of her brands under which she helps small businesses learn how to sell effectively to their customers. But I know her as a regional champion of enterprise, because she and I were both regional champions for small business at the same time in 2014. And she is a huge champion of small business and spends her life and her career helping small businesses learn to sell and grow more effectively. And she was recognised for this last year, very well deservedly, with an MBE. So it's my great pleasure to introduce Alison Edgar to the room today. Come in, Alison.
Hey.
Yay.
Hey, hello everybody. Hello. Oh, thank you for that lovely introduction, Emma. And when you asked me to join, it was an absolute pleasure. So hello everyone, and I can't wait to, I was going to say, can't wait to get to the end of the presentation so that I can see you. I'm not rushing the presentation, but it would be nice to see you in the room. So I have got some slides. So what I will do is I'll just do a little screen share. Hopefully this will come up.
Say goodbye at this point, Alison, shall we?
Okay.
And leave you. We'll be here if you need us, but we won't be able to see us or hear us for the next 45 minutes.
All the best there, Alison. Any problems?
Good luck.
See you on the other
We'll be
side.
here. Cheers.
Perfect. Okay, so we will be using the chat because I quite like to keep things interactive. So I think one of the things that is really important about this slide is I genuinely believe, when it's delivered correctly, that sales and customer service is exactly the same thing. And to the extent, I've got a little secret for you. So sometimes if I am doing customer service training for organizations or sales training, the slide pack is more or less the same. So that's how closely I believe that they're linked. So as Emma said, I do run a couple of brands, Sales Coaching Solutions, which works with teams. And then I'm the entrepreneur's godmother to some well-known entrepreneurs like the Apprentice winners, the Dragon's Den winners. And I'm also a speaker. So I speak at events for things like Discovery Channel, Sky, National Lottery. But it wasn't always that way. I left school at 16 and I'm dyslexic, so I don't really have any formal qualifications. But as Emma said, this year I did manage to land an MBE from the Queen for the work that I do in entrepreneurship and business. So hopefully that will give you some a little bit of an overview of who I am if you didn't know that before. So I am on social media. It's at the Alison Edgar on Instagram and on Twitter. So feel free to tweet and Insta away. But ultimately, I really want you to try and get some takeaways from this session that will help you. So what is my content? Where does it come from? What's it based on? So my background was originally hospitality. So I worked in Sydney for Radisson, Southern Suns in Cape Town. And I really, again, that's where that genuine belief in the customer service combined with, I worked for BT, I worked for Yale, and I worked for Dow Egbert. So I was corporate sales trained. And it was that combination between what I did in my previous career that led me to set up the training company. Because when I was working in and around small businesses, they were really quite good if they got an inbound inquiry. So they were quite good at conversions of when the marketing works, but a lot of the time they didn't know how to proactively sell. So as Emma said, we worked together during the time with Enterprise Nation, but there used to be things called Growth Vouchers and Growth Accelerator, which some of you may remember. But when they stopped the funding, the people that really needed my help most were the small businesses. And how can I help startups and micro businesses when they tend not to have as much money as the bigger organizations? And that's when I decided to write my first book. So I wrote Secrets of Successful Sales. It came out in 2018. And again, as a dyslexic, I used to think that I couldn't even write a paragraph, let alone a book. And it went on to be an Amazon bestseller, well, Amazon #1 around the world, a WH Smith top 10 business book, and The Independent voted it one of the best business books written by a woman in 2019. So, you know, the belief in that, if you are sitting there going, oh, I don't like sales, I can't sell, actually, you can do anything. So I'm hoping I can give you some tips that can really, really help you take things away from today. But as a result, literally, Secrets of Successful Sales, you buy that, don't you? You read that if you're in business or if you're in sales. But a really weird thing was happening, that people were reading it and then they were implementing it in their everyday life. So I was getting messages from people saying, oh, you know what, I've got a lot more time on my hands. Oh, you know what, I'm getting on better with my family and friends. You know what, I bought a house and I managed to save a lot of money on it. So I then had to, that drove me then to help more people. So my new book, Smash It, The Art of Getting What You Want, came out on the 1st of June and again hit Amazon around the world. So it's more in the personal development space. So, you know, anything, all the content that we're talking about today is available in the books, which are available on Amazon or any independent retailer. So sales, oh, sales, literally, I love it. I mean, I do. I get quite excited when I talk about it. Hopefully, my passion for it will be coming through. But a lot of sales is to do with your mindset. So for those of you who have done anything in the mindset or personal development space, a lot of it comes to your thoughts, and again, especially proactive and sort of taking things out of your comfort zone. So, you know, these are the things that I see with the fixed mindset. Oh, I'm not good at sales. Oh, you know what, I tried that. I don't like it. It feels icky. It feels horrible. I just stick to marketing. I put a few posts out on my social media. Maybe hopefully somebody will contact me via my Instagram. So again, it's a lot of people really struggle with a fixed mindset when it comes to sales. And, you know, when I was doing the research for the books, why is that? And it is literally, it's the psychology behind it, that your brain is trying to protect you, that fear of rejection, that fear of no, because sales is riddled with people saying no. Whereas marketing, you know, you might get the odd little troll, but actually marketing doesn't frighten a lot of people, whereas sales does. So one of the things I want you to take away is, like, I'm going to learn some new tricks today. So I'm going to give you some new tricks. I want you to be able to implement them and try them. You know what, maybe you've tried to do things in sales before and it hasn't worked. I want us to learn from what you've done before and give us some new angles and new tricks to try things differently, and take feedback on board. You know, one of the things I would say, one of the biggest errors I see in sales is people selling too soon. And, you know, all they do is talk about themselves and, you know, I do this, I do that, but not what they can do for other people. And ultimately, that's one of the main things. So that's what I want you to take away from today as well. But this is the one of the things which, again, a lot of the time I will get people who don't really know the difference between sales and marketing. And I think this is so important, because if you know where sales come into play and marketing come into play, you can actually look at your strategy and your structure. So I used to play golf for the West of Scotland. So when I was a young girl, I had a good handicap and I was chosen for the West of Scotland team. So I relate quite a few things back to golf. So if you think about sales and marketing being like golf, so what do I mean by that? So marketing, right? Marketing, put the tee in the ground and put the ball in the tee. So that's things like your social media, that's your website, that's your lumpy mail, the Rubik's Cube. So that's a marketing function that sort of sets it up. It helps your brand awareness. It helps people to know who you are, because if they don't know who you are, they're not going to buy from you. So that's where the marketing comes in, growing the brand. And then in sales, then what we do is we take it down the fairway. We then put it in the green and put the ball in the hole, because only when the ball goes in the hole do you make any money. So again, a lot of people in the marketing, like if I'm doing this live, will put up their hand and go, that's a load of rubbish, Alison. actually, us in marketing, we take the ball right down to the edge of the pin, and you sales guys tap it in and take all the glory. And again, it's interesting because there's a lot of talk around it. I'm still quite old school. I do see a difference between B2B, business to business, and business to consumer. So a lot of people say, oh, that's really rubbish now, it's all business to human, but actually I don't necessarily think it is. I know that it's a human, and the human psychology helps the purchasing. But when it comes to sales, if you think, again, coming back to the Rubik's Cube strategy, then you'll send that out in the post. That's all marketing. Where sales kicks in is when you pick up the phone. Hi, just double checking that you got the Rubik's Cube and what your thoughts were. Who do you currently use for this? And really starting that conversation. So it's that's where the sales part comes in. And so many people send out mail shots, or they do the marketing part, but they forget about the sales part. And again, a lot of that is because that's where the rejection comes into play. Then if you look at things, look at the business to consumer side of things. For example, let's look at Amazon or eBay. Actually, to me, those are not sales functions at all. Those are a hole-in-one for marketing. No human interaction has taken place in there. So that's where the sales part is just a pure hole-in-one for marketing. And it tends to be again, as a consumer of a product. Let's look at the jewellery, for example. If you saw that on a website, you're buying a gift for your friend, then you could just go online and order it and get it delivered. Whereas if you were looking to have the stock put into a retailer, for example, Harrods or Selfridges or whatever, that's where the marketing would start to warm the conversation up, but you would have to have a sales meeting or a sales conversation. So I'm hoping that makes sense. I'm trying to find the chat. Oh, here we go. Here is the chat. I have got the chat open. So let me see if that makes sense. The last comment we had was from Sheila at 9:45. So I am now watching the chat. If that makes sense, give me a yes, because, we're small but perfectly formed. So we have got time to make this session interactive. So if that is making sense to you, the difference between sales and marketing, give me a yes in the chat. Abigail says yes. Oh, Lorna says yes. Oh, yes, it does, Alison. Yes, Keith says yes. Brilliant. Okay, so I'm going to keep my chat open so that you can, even though you don't play golf, Sheila, oh, I tell you what, best game in the world. Well, maybe apart from football, but I'm Scottish, so I don't know if I can say that out loud. Okay, so let's have a look. So for anybody who is actually out there thinking, I don't like sales, I can't sell, I've tried it before, I'm rubbish, it didn't work. I'd say that that's obviously quite extreme in there, but I would say if I had £1 for everybody I meet at events, virtually or online or live, that say, oh, I don't like sales. Well, I believe to be really good at anything, you have to really love it. So this is where you're trying to flip that narrative, because if that's what you think, then what will happen is you will then start to feel quite anxious and worried about sales. What happens if they think if I'm pushy? What happens if they think this? And you'll start to, again, your brain will start to protect you, and you'll shy away from the sales activity. And then what will happen is you just won't pick up the phone, or you just won't have those conversations or the Zooms, because you'll be scared that it won't go in the direction you want it to go in. So what you need to do, first of all, is actually, hang on, I'm going to go back to that one. You have to change that. I do love sales. I can sell. And then what will happen is you'll feel more excited about the activity. And then what will happen is you will have those conversations, and you will then make sales. I heard some of you in the wins had already made sales this week, and then you'll want to continue that activity. So I think it's great. I love it when people say, I can't do that, because that's a brilliant place to start from. And I believe in life, that can't is a real driver, because you then take that as the flip to make it, I can do it. And again, don't forget, it's not about buy my product, buy my product. When it's delivered correctly, sales and customer service is exactly the same thing. You will not sell to everyone. If I can't sell to everyone, I can't teach you to do it, because actually it's about matching what you sell with what someone needs, not what they want, what they need. So hopefully that is making sense. I'm flipping that narrative. I want you all loving sales. So why why is it easier to sell to some people than others? Why is it easier to get some people to build that relationship? So when I wrote Secrets of Successful Sales, which has obviously now evolved into Smash It, the art of getting what you want, I had to work out what I did. I know this sounds really random, but again, I set up a sales training company, but I'd never been a sales trainer. I'd just always been a top performer. So what did I do? And what did the other top performers do differently to the people whose sales were erratic by, you know, hit one, miss one, hit one, miss one? And I had to strip through because a lot of the things I did on autopilot. So the first one was behaviors. So this is the 4 key pillars of sales. You've got behaviors. Then it's a sales process, a strategy, and confidence, because a lot of people lack confidence because they don't have the skills. And then that affects them actually getting involved in sales functions. So the first thing we look at is understanding behaviors. So I'm going to, again, the chat is open. Who has ever met someone they don't get on with particularly well? If you've ever met someone, thought, oh, I don't get on with them very well, give me a yes. Oh, Joanna's like, yeah, she was right in there. Anybody else ever sort of met somebody? Not many, but yes. Yeah. Okay, different tribes. Yeah, yes. I avoid them. Well, it's interesting, Sheila, because this was one of the things that why the top performers were the top performers, because they didn't eliminate the market, if that makes sense. They could widen the market, because sometimes a lot of people sell to people who are like them and it shrinks the market. So let me explain why. If you are taking notes, I think we've got the slides in there as well that you can use in your resources. But some people are task focused, other people are relationship focused, and some people are introvert and other people are extrovert. So again, the top performers could always be really concise in who they were dealing with, because they could make the magic happen by building the relationship quickly. So what I'm going to do, right, are you ready? I'm going to hypothetically take you all back to school. And I'm hypothetically going to give you an English test, which will last for 30 minutes. So don't worry, we're not going, there is no English test. But I want you to think back to when you were at school. And for some of you, it's probably a wee bit more recent than others. For me, it's quite a while ago. But in the classroom, you will first of all have a task-focused extrovert. So a task-focused extrovert, which we would name a red behaviour type. And this content is based on William Moulton Marsden's DISC model. So some of you may have used DISC in leadership and management, but again, it's really applicable to sales. So if you look at the task-focused extrovert, after 20 minutes, they've got up their hand. Hey, miss, check me out. I'm a winner. You're all losers. But when the test paper result comes back, oh, I didn't realize there was another side to that paper. Because for the task-focused extrovert, it's just about getting it done and getting it done quick. So if you think about having conversations from a business perspective, these are the ones I don't know, I don't want the detail. Just tell me how much it costs. And then they've got the wrong thing, and then they have to send it back, or, you know, they've not got what they wanted because they've not put enough attention in. So again, the task-focused extrovert, if you think about somebody like maybe Lord Sugar or somebody like that, again, it's quite fast-paced, but the detail is not always brilliant. And we're not just one color, we're a blend of all of the colors. But when you start to identify the color in yourself, you're self-aware, and also in your customers or your clients, it just makes it easier to build the relationship stronger. And ultimately, people do buy people. So then we go back to our test. So we've got the relationship focused extrovert, so the yellow behavior type. So again, after 10 minutes, so the test has just started, hasn't it? 10 minutes in, they're like, oh, Emma, have you seen much of Emma Jones? Oh, I love Enterprise Nation. Oh, I really loved those events in London. Remember we went to number 10? Alison McCall, can you get back on with the test? Oh, I forgot there was a test. I was chatting to Emma about Emma Jones and blah, blah. So again, these are the people, because they're extrovert, they do a lot of the talking. Oh, me, I've done this. You've gone to Tenerife, I've been to 11 Tenerife. All of that extrovert talking about themselves. So when it comes to a sales perspective, sometimes you just cannot actually get them to stop talking long enough to find out what they actually need. And they just off on a tangent all the time. So again, if you have a look, these are the extroverts. So you kind of know that they're in the room. You know that they're going to be there because you'll hear them and you'll see them. They like to hold court. We then move across into our introverts. So first of all, we look at the relationship focused introvert, and that's our green behavior type. So after 10 minutes, the relationship focused introvert will notice that Sheila's got a headache. Miss, my friend Sheila's got a headache. I think I should take them to the nurse. So if you have a think for the relationship focused introvert, the headache was more important than the test. So because they're introvert, they tend not to want to make a decision there and then. They need to think about it. They need to make sure everybody's comfortable with that. They have to have a chat to their hedgehog, their granny, their dog, just to make sure that that works for everyone. So from a sales perspective, they need the time to think about it, but they do not like conflict and they do not like saying no. So what happens is if they are pushed, they just ghost you, or they give you a, oh, I haven't had a chance to look yet, because they don't want to tell you no, because they don't like to hurt your feelings. And from a sales perspective, a business perspective, sometimes again, the fear of sales holds them back because they're worried they're going to hit a red customer type who's going to shoot them down in flames. So their brain is protecting them. Then we move across to the blue behavior type. So still in the introvert, but these ones are task focused. So what happens with them right up to the last second in the test, they're checking their work. Did I dot my I? Did I cross my T? Because they strive for perfection. So from a sales perspective, they need all the details to make that decision. So they can't make it on a whim. They need to be doing the spreadsheet and the comparison and so you can see from that, we all buy in different ways based on our behaviors. And the important thing is to really pick up on those behaviors and adapt to what the client or the customer needs from you. And the same with your marketing message, we all absorb things differently. But I go back to that question again, who's ever met somebody they don't get on with? So if you're a red and you want the decision, you want it all, now. Oh, it's the greens that take ages. They're always over apologizing. It takes them a long time to make a decision. If you're here leading the Disney parade in the yellow corner, oh, it's those dull blues that need all that detail. They drive me mad. And if you're here in Carey Sherry Greenland and you just want everything to be nice and free flowing, it's those pushy reds. They're rude. They don't even say please and thank you. They're horrible. And if you're here in blue and you need all the detail and you're thinking you need time to marinate things, it's those annoying yellows that never shut up. So can you see from that, like even just behind the psychology of how we buy makes a difference to how we feel about sales, but how we make more sales. Like, and again, Noam's like, I think I'm a blue-green. So again, Noam, I think you're the Rubik's Cube lady in my head. Are you Rubik's Cube? You are, right, okay. So again, that's a creative, isn't it? The Rubik's Cube idea, but you need to make sure you've got the follow-up plan of what you're doing with the Rubik's Cube, because if you don't follow up, the magic comes with the follow-up. So hopefully that helps. Again, we will be doing Q&A at the end, so I will take the questions. John, I'm more blue. You should see how long and detailed I can make proposals. Again, can you imagine though, John, if that goes to a yellow behavior type, you've broken the relationship. And I'll give you an example. one of my clients that I worked with, like on a consultancy basis, was in the double glazing industry. And we, when I started working with them, I did some calls myself to clients who hadn't bought from them, just to get, gauge why they had to drop the conversion rate. And I phoned this lady and said, oh, hi, I'm phoning from blah, blah, blah windows. You had somebody round to see you. It was just to find out what was the reason that you didn't buy. The sales guy was really boring. Okay, I'll take that on board. And what was the reason that you had contacted them in the first place? Well, Mrs. Jones at number 42 had got new doors and windows and I wanted that. So again, you can see from the pattern that all she wanted was to be fabulous and better than Mrs. Jones at number 42. And the sales guy really loved thermal values and millimeters. And again, what should have happened was he should just have like dropped the pace on the detail and built up the smiles and the happiness factor, and that would have closed that sale. But again, you don't know what you don't know, and a lot of the time with people who are task focused, they forget to build that relationship in the way that the client wants it. So hopefully that makes sense. And again, right, so in the chat, who was brought up to treat other people how you would like to be treated? If that was you, give me a yes. Okay, that is most of you. So you still treat people with the values, don't you? You treat them with respect, but ultimately how you do that with your behaviours, stop treating them the way that you want to be treated and treat them the way that they want to be treated. A lot of the time, especially with a yellow-green relationship, you try and kill them with kindness. They don't want that. They just want you to cut to the chase and they want you to carry on. So this is what the top performers did because they could really work with those relationships. So again, all this stuff is in Secrets of Successful Sales on a business level, and on a personal level, there's a lot of stuff on Smash It. So you guys do networking. I was so excited to see that this is the last one of the COVID series, that you are back in the real rooms. Woo, woo, woo. So how do you introduce yourself? And I think this is where a lot of people, they say who they are, where they're from, and what it's about, right? That's what most people do. Hello, I'm Gnome, I do graphic design and I work with small businesses, or whatever it is. But actually, it's a wee bit like the Titanic. So if you're on the Titanic and it's about to sink, who's the first person you want to save? You're no family, no friends. Actually, a lot of the time it's yourself. So it's always this missing link of what's in it for them. So hi, I'm Gnome, I'm a graphic designer, I work with small businesses, but what having a really strong graphic does, it actually, a picture paints 1,000 words. And what that does is it gets your customers on the buy-in journey towards your product before you even open your mouth. Something like that, do you know what I mean? So you're thinking, oh, actually that's getting my customers getting warmed up, ready to spend some money with me. So this is something that you could practice forever, but just always remember that actually the customer really doesn't care about you, they care about what you can do for them. And that's where that purpose, what's the purpose? A lot of times, coming back to the Rubik's Cube strategy. So hi, I'm Gnome. The purpose of this call is to find out if you got the Rubik's Cube and find out what your thoughts were on it. So again, just from there, and then by those two good open questions, you should start to be able to build that relationship with the customer. The other thing that we do is we teach people how to actually start to work out the behavior colors using LinkedIn. So if anybody's business to business, most of your customers will be on LinkedIn. There's tricks that you can use to identify how to message them as well. So one of the things, again, people say, what's the one that is your 3 most important things you talk about, Alison? Well, behaviors is obviously one, but this one, thinking like a child, is really, really important. So if you think about children, when they're like 3 years old, 2 years old and 3 years old, they start to speak, don't they? They start, no, yes, no, mommy, daddy, whatever it is. But there's a question that they ask. Can anybody think, can you put it in the chat, what's the first question that kids ask? Why? Excellent. Look at that. Why? So they're not taught to ask why. It's bizarre. We're just born to ask open questions. who, what, why, where, when, how, who, what, why, where, when, how, who, what, why, where, when, how. We're born to ask that. And younger children are maybe on a ratio with 1-to-1 with my mom, dad, granny, guardian, whatever it is. But when we go to school, we then flip the narrative of our questions, because we then go from a ratio of 1 to 30 potentially. So you can't have 30 kids putting up their hand and going, why? So we become polite. Would you like to, will I send you an email to nevergonnahappen.com? So again, a lot of the times we're just moving straight into closed question mode, and we're not really starting to find out from the customer what they really need. And again, it's not what they want, it's what they need. So for example, car showrooms are a great place that do this, because you go in and they'll ask you things that sound quite obscure, like how many people are in your family, you know, how often do you go out as a family, blah 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 blah, how many pets have you got? Oh, and they're like, why are you asking that? Because actually the customer might want a Porsche 911, but he's got a family of 4, he's not got any other transport, and he's got a Labrador dog. So what he needs is a Kia Sorento. So that makes sense that, you know, it's your job as the salesperson to be the detective, and because a lot of the time our customers don't know what they need, and that's your role. Again, what do the top performers do? They're never scared to ask those questions. They're never scared to pitch to what the need is. And when it comes to negotiation, you can always negotiate down, but it's hard to negotiate up. So you have to really go in from exactly what somebody needs. So again, I could talk about this all day, but I have only got 13 minutes left, and I will be taking questions and answers. So if anybody does have any questions, please start getting them ready, because we will open the floor. And again, as Emma said, make sure you've got on clothes, well, from the top upwards. So strategy. You know, I've got a lot of strategies, and everything I sort of talk about, I try and make it relatable, because I think sometimes people over confuse things, in my opinion. So it's easier to sell additional products to your existing customer base, because you've already built the relationship, they already like you, you've already nurtured them, you've already given them good customer service. But sometimes we sort of forget the additional cross sell. So again, I treat it like bingo. So say, for example, we've got example in here on the left. So where we've got the black box, the boxes below, that's where you would put your customers. So for example, one of my customers is the Discovery Channel, for example. And then my products would be the book, speaking at events, coaching, training, and online courses. So my products would be along the top. And then the ideal is that every client on the left buys every product. Now, we know that that's not going to happen, but what you can do is actually backload the questions. So for example, to the Discovery Channel, I spoke at the event, they bought the books. At the next part of the conversation would be, so how do you do your executive coaching for your senior leadership team? Or what we do is this, and why do you do it that way? And how likely would you be to use an external provider for that? So again, can you see you're backloading the questions into the bingo card to ideally get the full house, the full line. But so many people would say, oh, and I could do executive coaching if you wanted me to do that. And, you know, there's no need there. You've not actually found out what they do in that space. Does that make sense? I'm hoping that makes sense. If that's all starting to make sense with the strategy, if you can give me a wee yes, that would be good. Does that make sense? The bingo card? Yes, yes. Lorna says yes. Gemma says yes. Vicky says yes. Everybody's saying yes. And I think, I can't remember who it was. Is it physiotherapy you do? And I think maybe you've got other people in there. So again, let's say it was a health clinic, like, and you've got physiotherapy, you've got Reiki, you've got massage, you've got whatever. So that kind of backloading. So rather than saying, you know, do you want to book in for a massage or okay, what other holistic therapies have you tried, and how likely would you be to try them again? You know, again, I'm trying to make it quite rigid, but can you see from that it's just part of the conversation, and that's where you start to create the needs. I know the answer to that is yes, because I can see it in the chat. So the other thing is, when it comes to sort of networking and pipeline management, people tend to spend a lot of time on the wrong things. So as you go back into the face-to-face networking again, and again, there's different strategies on this, because yes, you never know who that person knows. So that, you know, you have got that, that is so true. But when you go back into face-to-face networking, I think that especially when you get the list of the people, there will be people that you really want to do business with, don't you? There's like, you know, for me, if I'm going to an event, you know, I want to be speaking to like head of HR at Subway, or, you know, the event organizer for the Subway events, or so there's people that I hypothetically, I'll use hypothetically again, want to marry. So, and this is the same for anybody that's business to business, and you're looking at LinkedIn, if you want to do the graphic design for Farnborough Airport, you know, whatever it is, who are these people that really, that are on your goal list to work with? And then again, coming back to the face-to-face, there'll be people that you kind of know fairly well, you know, and sometimes at networking, you get sucked in to spending time with the people that you know really well. And that's sometimes not a great use of your time. So there'll be people that you want to avoid. I'm coming back to the lady that's like, yes, you know, these people I don't get on with. So there will be people that, you know, you've maybe had a conversation with, or and I don't mean this badly, but now there'll be people that you won't want to do business with, because maybe financially they just don't have any money to do business with you, if that makes sense. And that sounds quite harsh, avoid them. But what I'm trying to say is, obviously just utilize your time. And there will be new people, because there's many startups have been created during the pandemic. So if you get to marry some people, hypothetically, avoid some people, hypothetically, what do we get to do with the rest of the room at the cricket ground? Who can tell me? Marry some people, avoid some people. What are we doing with the rest of the room? No, Joanna, we're not killing the room. And we put that disclosure at the beginning. No, we're not doing that. I'm not taking any responsibility for that. What do we do with the rest of the room? If we marry some, we avoid some, we snog them, hypothetically. Again, we saw the disclaimer at the start. So the last thing I really want to end on, because we've not got very many minutes left, is around confidence. So I kind of get asked this all the time when it comes to sales. How do I build my confidence in sales? How do I become a more confident person? How does, you know, how can that help me grow my business, sustain the business? So let's have a wee look. Who's that? Can anybody tell me who this lady is? Kate Moss. Well done, Gemma. It is Kate Moss. It is Kate Moss. Am I Kate Moss? That's a rhetorical question. The answer is no, I'm not Kate Moss. I wasn't born a size 0, and I wasn't blessed with great skin. But one of the things, every single day I look in the mirror, I see the supermodel of sales. And because I see the supermodel of sales, you see the supermodel of sales. I think I am, therefore I am. And it comes back to that way we started. If you're thinking, I can't sell, I'm not good at this, I'm really bad at this, actually, you need to change that narrative. Because if you change the narrative to believe that you can, then what happens is you will feel better about it, you'll have better conversations, you will make more sales, and that circle will start to run through. And I think, again, it's really interesting in this space, because how do you get good at sales? And I will bring it back to golf. So when I started to play golf, I was rubbish, right? I was downright rubbish. I kept missing the ball, the grass was going everywhere, it was awful. So what I did was, I had to take myself off of the fairway. I had to actually practice. I had to get on the practice ground, and I was like a human boomerang, hit it, pick it up, hit it, pick it up, hit it, pick it up. And actually a wonderful thing started. The more I practiced it, the better I got. So we are coming out at the other end of the pandemic. You will be doing more face-to-face stuff. And, you know, you don't have to practice it with your real clients. You could practice the techniques at home, in the mirror, on the, you know, you can do whatever you want, but the more you practice, the better you get, the more confident you become. So that is the supermodel of sales. And again, I do believe to get good at anything, it is that daily practice. So I do ask you, when was the last time you practiced the techniques around questions, or the, you know, the bingo? You might not have known this, but whatever your version of making sales is, how often are you practicing it? Because if it's not every day, you're not going to fulfill your full potential. And yeah, so again, I did say to Emma, one of the things, we know that some of these things, if you're not used to sales, it does take you a wee while to practice and get there, and sometimes you need help and support. So coming back to when I played golf, I had a coach that helped me, and it helped me tweak my stance and my grip and my swing and all that sort of stuff. So sometimes we just need that wee bit of help. So I've put together, I've got these on my website, and I've given a good discount. I think it's normally $6.99, but I've got the online courses which cover all the content, a coaching session with me, the LinkedIn in Colours ebook, and the guide to selling on social media. So social selling, which is quite a big buzzword at the moment. So if anybody does want a little bit of help and wants to work with me on a one-to-one basis, that is on the Entrepreneur's Godmother for, I'm sure it's $6.99. Rebecca, that runs the show, would know better than me. But yes, so if anybody is interested and wants to know a wee bit more, if you email rebecca@alisonedgar.com, she can explain what is included and how it all works. And in the meantime, if that's not your thing, I'm hoping that you have taken away some takeaways from today that can really help to change the narrative of the way that you sell, because when it's delivered correctly, sales and customer service is exactly the same thing. I've been Alison Edgar, and I'm going to stop sharing and take any questions.
That's fantastic, Alison. Amazing. We've just got a moment whilst we promote everyone to panelists, and they accept the invite, and that'll then allow you to see their lovely faces. It looks a little bit like, and I hope that you get the reference, Celebrity Squares.
Yeah,
everyone in their own little box.
That's in my age group. That hits my radar.
I said that the other day to my kids. Blank stare.
So, and Alison, thank you so much for that talk. It was incredibly useful and inspiring, and the idea of being able to sort of change your mindset from, you know, I don't like sales and I can't sell, to I do like sales and I can sell, because actually selling can be the most exciting part of running a business, can't it? We all love that feeling when we've completed a sale and it's gone well, you know, we're just like on a high for days. So but getting yourself to that point where you feel brave enough to pick up the phone is a real challenge, I think, for probably everybody in the room. So thank you so much for all your tips to help us all with that. So is anybody going to kick off with a question for Alison? Who's got a question lined up already? Because
Emma, while we're waiting on that, I'll expand on what you've just said while people get a chance to think. But I think this is where I'm really passionate about sales and customer service being exactly the same thing. And if people look through the eyes of customer service, everybody wants to give great customer service, don't they? But that's the thing that gives them the strength. If you really believe that your product or service is the solution to someone's problem, that's what gives you the energy and the strength to pick up the phone or to have that conversation, because everybody wants to give great customer service, and that's where the sale comes as part of that sequence.
I think about customer service, isn't it? I really like that's your strap line about customer service. Basically, selling is just customer service.
Exactly the same thing. When it's delivered correctly, it's the same thing.
So maybe we'll start with a show of hands. Who hates, like literally will think of any other task, including hoovering, emptying the dishwasher, than doing sales? Put your hands up if you avoid sales like the plague. Oh, okay. The Ryland's got a sneaky hand, and Liz is shaking her head. Is that a no? I don't resonate with that, Liz. Or yeah, I will run a mile.
No, I love sales.
Love sales. Oh,
I love
fantastic. Sales. You do a lot of retail sales, yeah?
Yep.
Do you get to meet a lot of your customers?
Yeah, so I work in our shop. We have a boutique that I share with 3 other independent businesses. So yeah, I work in the shop usually about 2 days a week. I love it.
Fantastic. And do you see what Alison was talking about, the different range of customer motivations and
Yes.
different personalities?
Yes, yes. And I worked in corporate sales, so with sales and marketing in my last job prior to retail. So I was in a big, I worked for a big company as a technical person, but worked with sales and marketing. So was often out in the field, so with sales. So we've had a little bit of that experience, but retail's quite different. Yes, it's understanding customer needs. That's why it's really important to know the environment and just, yeah, I love it.
It's interesting, Liz, though, as well, because a lot of the time retail drives me mad because they'll go in with a closed question, can I help you? And we're tuned, again, we're scared of people trying to sell to us. So
Yep.
we say, no, I'm all right, I'm just looking. Whereas if they flip that question around and say, thanks for popping in today, what brought you here? You know, what brought you in? Because you're in for a reason, even if you're in just to get out of the rain. But then some of that time by asking what brought you in today, I'm looking for a present for my sister. Okay, what kind of things does your sister like? And you know, this is where I see a lot of the drama with the bad service, because they're not trained to ask open questions, and that's 2 open questions that can make a difference to the money that goes in the till and the experience for the customer. So it's really interesting that not more retailers are trained in that way.
Yeah.
Great first question.
I can see that Keith's got his hand raised. Keith.
Mm.
Oh yeah, thanks Stu, and thanks Alison, really interesting talk. Yeah, I've really got an observation rather than a question as such, because obviously what I sell is mainly big ticket, and so sales take quite a long time, anywhere from a few weeks to a few months. But something that I learned a while ago, but it works for me as well, is that if you've got a list of prospects to call, is to actually rank them in your own mind as to which ones are hot, i.e. they're very likely to buy them, they match your customer avatar, so they're very likely to buy from you, which ones are medium and which ones are cold, and start with the hot ones, because if you get a series of calls where there is interest and okay, someone might even say yes, then that puts you in a much more positive frame of mind to approach the medium ones and then the tall ones. And also you've got to accept there will be a number of no's, so you don't take the no as a rejection. It's just, well, that is what happens. Not everyone's going to buy from you, because I'm 100% believer that people buy people. And my personal belief is that you can have the best product or service in the world, but if you don't hit it off with the person you're trying to sell to, they won't buy from you. And I think that's really important. But I think the other thing which is important, and I spend a lot of time on, but I get the impression some people don't, and again, it depends on the value of what you're selling, is actually doing enough research into your prospect before you approach them, so that you understand the market they're in and understand what their issues are. Because at the end of the day, people, again, this is old school sales training, of course, but people buy benefits, not features. Mm-hmm. And so you try and put yourself in their shoes, and if you're in their shoes, what's the thing that's really going to bother them? And address that, because then if you address their pain, then they're more likely to buy. So yeah, that was just some observations really, but great talk, Alison. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, what I would say, definitely, I talk about probability. So I would go in even further in the pipeline management. So rather than hot, medium, cold, I would say, and when in those conversations with them, when you're trying to find out the time frame of closing it down, I quite like, I call it test intention. So like you're obviously at an advanced level of sales, I would go in even further and just, just out of interest, just so that I know the next steps in the sales process. If 1 means that, this is not going to happen within the next 2 weeks, and 5 means you're ready to close the contract now, where are you on a scale of 1 to 5 on your decision? So again, I think that because it passes the ball back to them and getting them to put themselves in the probability for that. And you're so right, like features tell, benefits sell. So I think it's, you're spot on with that. And I think the test intention is just that other thing that helps you sort. And if you can sort your probability in your pipeline, you can sort your time, because so many people waste a lot of time when it comes to sales. So you're spot on with that. I agree.
There's a really great closing question, which also opens the discussion up. So it can go either way, but if you can talk to somebody and get some discovery going, and then say, oh, right, so if we can sort all this for you, are you ready to go forward? You know, what's your time scale that you would like us to get this done by? Because that is the soft question that gets the hard answer of like, oh, well, we're just looking at the moment, no decision, it's got to go to the board, or I've got to speak to my wife. That can really open up, oh, okay, all right, so we're not at the finishing line yet, we've just started the race, and there's a number of things that I then need to put in place. But
yeah, and I think it's that knowledge, because information is power, but so many people don't have enough information. And again, the information comes in two folds. Exactly, you know, as the gentleman, so I've missed the name, sorry, the gentleman said about doing the research in advance, but also at that stage when you're going through that, how do they make the decisions, who else is involved in that decision maker? And if that's brought in as a conversational way, that bit about, oh, I need to check with the board, or I need to check with my wife, or I need to check, it doesn't come as a surprise at the end. It's further back in the conversation.
Absolutely. And one of the things we used to do in one of the businesses that I had was we didn't stop ranking or triaging the sales pipeline after the sales. We would then rank the customer in terms of 3, 2, or 1 star. And if we had a 1-star customer that was a pain in the arse and they didn't pay their bills on time, and they were just, the relationship was friction led, we would look to replace that customer.
Yeah.
And I've had conversations which were along the lines, I don't think this is working for us. You know, can we help you find somebody who is better suited to your needs?
Yeah, and I think that comes back to not all customers are great customers. You know, if they're not paying the invoice, then that's, you know, snog, marry, avoid. This that still
that's what resonated with me, Alison. That I don't think my sales team would have liked snog, marry, and avoid. I don't think I was paying enough danger money for them to go in at that level.
I just ask, is there anybody here who doesn't feel who does feel rather that their sales technique could be improved, that it leaves something to be desired? Or is anybody here who's like not 100% great salesperson? Okay, so, and also me included. So what questions do you have what question could you ask to get Alison to help you with whatever it is you don't feel you're particularly good at? Does anybody have one of those kinds of questions? What do you feel that you're lacking? Or what could help you become a better salesperson?
Sue's got a hand up there. Sue.
Well, I find being a therapist, and I'm also, as you know, I also sell magnetic jewellery. Now, like Liz, I love going to the fairs and doing things like that, speaking to people one-to-one, and generally, I think, I can sort of strike up a conversation with people, and things will go well. And if people they don't want to buy what I'm selling, then that's fine. So I find that selling a product I feel much more confident than basically selling myself what I do at my tea house. I find it a lot harder to sell myself, really. And I think again it is because, well, if people don't want to buy a magnetic bracelet, then it's the magnetic bracelet they don't want, whereas if they don't want to come to my tea house, it's me they don't want, it's more personal that way, I think.
So what is your service, Sue?
I'm an aromatherapist, so I massages and facials and products and things.
Oh, I think that's interesting, because I think that comes back to sales and marketing is like golf. So for me, that's like a B2C, isn't it? It's a business to consumer service. And that's where I think that's more of a strong marketing function. So I think that, for example, so over the last 18 months, I've lost 3 stone. I've gone from couch to 5K, couch to 10K, couch to half marathon, but my body is really struggling with it. I'm really I'm sore. So for me, I would just Google sports, and I've done that, did it yesterday, sports massage, Chippenham, and I'll just go online and I'll book it. So unless I've got a question, but that's a marketing function. Does that make sense? So I think if you're marketing strong for a service like your service, you're not really, you've got to get them coming through the door, because you can't randomly just phone people up and go, hey, do you want to have my service? It doesn't do that. That's where really, if your marketing is good, right, you've put the ball to the hole and they tap it in. It should be it should be just a closing conversation. When do you want to come in? How does that meet the budget? The bit at the end, I think this is where looking at your time and your diary management, like once they've had them, you know, say, you know, so how often do you normally have this kind of service? Or weekly? Oh, out of interest, where, you know, what did you do prior to this? Oh, I've just moved into the area, or I've done whatever. So I think the good customer service is to book the next, like you're doing me a favor by just saying that's great. So when do you want to come back in next? It's an assumptive close. And for some reason, like, oh, actually, I need to check my diary. That's not, you know, some people will fob you off because they don't want to come back. But again, for me, you not asking me when I want to come back is bad service. And if you're then getting repeat customers, they've built the relationship. And if you think the magnetic bracelet is the thing that's going to really help their joints or their mobility or whatever, you know, just say, like, what are you doing? I've been playing around with your legs. They're really tight. What are you doing long-term wise with your health? What have you tried to try and ease your joints? You know, what was your thoughts on the magnets? This is how it works. The benefit is it will actually ease and it gives the flow through the body. I think you would really benefit from one of those. And again, that's that just assumptive close. And they'll go, how much is that? Yeah, it's 20 quid, whatever it is. Okay, yeah, put that on the bill as well. But does that make sense? I think that's where the B2C is a strong marketing function rather than an outbound sales. But what you can do, you've probably got money sitting in there of clients who have been with you before and that you've not followed up on. So the exercise from a sales perspective is going, hiya, you came and you had a massage with us before. I know that the world's coming back to normal. What I was looking to do is you just find out what your thoughts were. We're coming back again and you know, and restarting doing some of the services. And what they're going to say, no. But again, that is just damn good customer service. You care about them and you're giving them a call.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not your customer's job to remember to do business with you.
No.
Reaching out and making sure that you're having those conversations, especially if, like Alison said, you know, everyone's coming back to the marketplace after a lockdown and a pandemic and things are opening up. Great time to start sending people questions about, hey, look, I've produced this little guide to post-pandemic stretching and getting out there in the world and keeping yourself safe and boosting your immune system. I thought I'd send it through to all my ex-customers or my customers, and you know, starting those conversations at the very least. This week I had my first sale since I took some time off in February, and it was very easy because I just kept asking the person what they wanted to achieve with their spend. I didn't even talk to them about the money or side of it. I just talked to them what they wanted to achieve, and then we had that discussion. I showed them what we could do for them, and they were like, let's do it. It literally was an email came in this morning that said, let's do this. And I'd explained absolutely everything. This is what you get, this is what happens, this is what happens afterwards. I'm around to answer any questions. We had a couple of Zoom sessions. It felt like getting back on the horse. So you know, reactivating those customers and getting those people interested in you again, it doesn't have to be an onerous big struggle. Just literally picking up the phone call and saying, how you been?
Does anybody else have anything that's going on in their sales process? Lorna, you'd like to ask about?
Well, it's not so much ask. First of all, I just wanted to say that was a really good presentation, Alison. Thank you. And it's and I've been in sales for probably, well, more than 30 years. And it was just a really good reminder to me. It's so easy to just forget basics sometimes and to forget things and just think, oh God, yeah, I used to do that, or I should really think more about that. And so that was really, really useful. And I was just going to ask, actually, Emma, well, that presentation's been recorded, hasn't it?
Yes, it has.
So, because I'd really like to be able to share it with my account manager, who's Matt, who couldn't be here this morning, but if that's possible, that'd be really good. Because it was, yeah,
absolutely. If you're a member, it's all available on the back of the website. Do you know how to log in and everything, Laura?
Yes, yeah, that's fine. So, Alison, I'll definitely be going onto Amazon to get the book as well. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, me too. The book looks great. Yeah. So, thanks, Lorna. Has anybody else got any questions for Alison? Something's happening in their sales process or their sales conversations isn't working for them in any way? Everyone's doing really well. Liz?
I have a question. Great presentation. Again, it sort of sparked a lot of things for me. A question would be, how would you deal with a customer or customers that constantly want a bargain, don't see the value add, I don't know, just they're in the shop just to get, they're persistent, they want to get 20-30% off, and
I love a bargain.
The same as fairs.
You're talking about me there. I love a bargain. and so it's really interesting because I flip the other way round. Do you know what I mean? I
always
go for that bargain. So well, I tell you my answer on it.
Okay.
It's quite random. It's Kenny Rogers, the gambler, right? You've got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, and know when to run, right? So 100% of nothing is nothing. 90% of something is something. So again, and it's really interesting because I think a lot of small businesses don't know their numbers. They don't know their margins. They don't know their numbers. So let's say, for example, what do you sell in your shop?
In the shop we have 4 independent businesses, so we curate small collections of Italian clothes and accessories, Bohemian accessories, but very small collections. So a lot of the money goes back directly to the artisans. So it's a real price point. It's a real range from £300-400 for silk dresses right down to sort of I don't know, £6-7 for key rings, or so it's a real range in the shop. So it's a little bit for everybody.
I think that
it's eclectic.
But if you look at houses, right, what's the price of a house? What somebody's prepared to pay for it, isn't it? So you've got a dress in there at 400 quid. So some people will not even try and negotiate because they'll be too scared, they're too frightened, they will never ever go for it. And again, go back to the behaviours. A lot of the people that will want the deal will be the blue or the red, because and again, especially the red behaviour, because they like to win. They don't know what they want to win. They just want to win. They want the deal. Like, so again, it comes back to that behaviour. So if you know the number on it, and again, it's a bit like yield, right? It's a bit, think about like booking.com or EasyJet. Do you know what I mean? Like if you've got a lot of seats left, you can do it at a cheaper price. If you've got no seats left, you're on full price. And that's the same with the fashion industry when it comes to the seasons. So if it's coming if you're selling like linen summer dresses and you're getting to October, you need to get rid of that stock so that you can bring the wellies in and the thick jumpers. So you would never do you would never try and do a deal on a dress in July if it was a linen dress. But what you could do is you could try and up the spend. So again, it would be like a suggestive sell or a cross sell. So you would never give them discount on that item unless it was going out of season. But what you could say is actually, you know what, alongside this linen dress, there's actually a pair of like leather sandals that match that, and a floppy hat. What I could do, if you bought all 3 of them, I could give you 10% off. So you would build your discount in to an increase in the basket spend. And you would only discount on price if you had to get rid of that stock because you were going out of season and you needed the next season coming through. But they want to feel like a winner, they want to feel like a winner. So if you can do something, and again, if you're clever with the numbers, like I will never walk into an independent store and not ask for a discount. I'll always say, what's the best price that you can do on that? And then the decision for me is Kenny Rogers. Am I going to hold in, fold in, walk away, or run? I like a bargain. I like to just feel like I've won.
Okay. We do. I mean, like a lady came in the other day and we cross-sold.
But that's where you can build if you spend a wee bit more,
10%,
or whatever it is. I would try and avoid giving them the discount. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could say, well, actually, if you buy the dress, I can give you the key ring, because then you're still doing your stock rotation. So it doesn't always necessarily have to be money off. You can go, well, actually, I could give you this, or I could do that, or rather than giving them a percentage off, you could, you know, again, everybody likes an offer. So like you buy one, you get one free as an offer. Mentally, we buy on offer. So any form of offer will still appease, especially the red customers.
Okay. Even if they're absolutely, I've had a couple of who are relentless. They've gone in with a mission to just really almost get things for half price.
Well, it's Kenny Rogers, isn't it? Literally,
yeah.
You're either gonna, you know when to hold in, know when to hold in, know when to walk in, and know
it's
when
a challenge.
And it is, and again, 100% of nothing is nothing.
Yeah.
So you've always got to remember that, you know, 80% of something or 90% of something or doubling the spend of something is a good, and again, it's not just that one time Charlie shop, it's the longevity of that customer moving forward, and also the word of mouth. Oh, I really loved in that shop, it was brilliant, the service is amazing, and sort of moving it in from there. But I train people to buy as well. The art of get what you want is the flip side of what you're trying to avoid. Is you haven't read the book and come into your shop.
It's about enjoying it, isn't it, as well? It's like a game, isn't it? On both sides, like make it a bit of fun. If somebody's relentless, you know, just laugh at them.
I'll give you a
good effort.
I know we're recording this, but I'll tell you a wee story about the art of getting what you want. So one of my young entrepreneur clients, as Emma knows, I've worked with quite a few high profile entrepreneurs. And this wee boy started his business at 18, multi-million-pound business by the time he was 20. He's done really, really well, all organic, no funding, nothing. And as a wee treat for himself, he wanted to buy a Rolex watch, right? So he said, can you come, because I'm the godmother, literally. People just take me around because I'm the godmother. And he said, right, we'll have a wee day out in London, we'll go for lunch. And then again, a bit like that, we were trying to work out our shopping strategy to get discount on this Submariner Rolex watch, right? Literally, it's like $6.5 grand or something for this watch. And we were going, right, we'll do this and we'll play them off and we'll do the thing. Anyway, we go to the first shop, right? And we go in and we had an appointment, but they weren't flouncing us over. You know, if you're going to spend $6.5 grand on a watch, you want people flouncing on you, don't you? And it wasn't happening. Anyway, we sat down, the guy said, yeah, what watch? The name of the watch. Yeah, there's a 2-year waiting list on that. 2-year waiting list, right? And again, it wasn't my job to do the research. That was his job to know that. I didn't know that. So we came out and we were really deflated, that 2-year waiting list. Anyway, one of the top tips the guy gave us was, we're part of a chain. You might find an independent and you can register there, but you're never going to get a watch within 2 years. So I went, oh, I love a challenge, right? Bring this one on. So we go into one of the world's most famous department stores in London, work out the colours. So the guy was a yellow red, I'm a yellow red. The guy, the boy that's buying the watch is on Forbes 30 under 30, and I've got an MBE. So we've got two like tricks up our sleeve, because what they say with these watches, they don't want them flipped. So you buy it for $6.5 grand, and as soon as you walk out the store, the value is 11,000, because they're so sought after because of this waiting list. So what they don't want is, they don't want people flipping the watches. They want people that genuinely want this classic timepiece. Anyway, we literally, we could play, because the behaviors of the guy, we adapted. And I'm saying things like, how do we get a Disney fast pass to get one of these watches before 2 years? How do we get our fast pass? And again, he's like, I'm really sorry, you know, I could put you on the waiting list. And he said, but we said, well, what's the time frame? It could be anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 years. And as soon as he said 2 weeks, I'm like, buying signal, we might be in here. So we followed up a really nice email and had that conversation. Well, he got his watch in a week and a half. That is the art of getting what you want. Like literally, he followed everything I teach to the letter, and he didn't get discount off of it, but it was a yield. It was a big, strong piece that people are waiting 2 years for. He got his in a week and a half. That's the art of getting what you want.
That's a great story. Thank you. Well, so yeah, we'll all be heading out to buy some expensive watches on waiting lists. So now we know how it's done. So any more questions from anyone about their sales process and how to get what you want from your customers? And if not, I'm just going to ask Noam, you knew it was coming. Have you planned your follow-up process for the Rubik's Cube?
Not yet, because I'm well aware that as soon as these stickers arrive, it's going to take me forever and a day to stick them all on all these little squares. So yeah, so I've got a bit of time for that, and that's always my downfall with sales, is following up. I know that's my weakness, and I just need to give myself a good kick on the backside to make sure I do it, really. So I'm probably going to put some sort of reminders in my calendar to make sure that I do it, and make sure I do it first thing in the morning to get it out of the way, you know, all those sorts of tricks because if I don't do it, then it's all sort of pointless. Yeah.
I mean, what I would say with that, do you have a CRM? How do you know who you're sending it to? How do you keep that data?
Nothing as complicated as a CRM yet, but there's only a small number going out. There's 25 going out for the first batch. It's going to be an Excel spreadsheet or something.
Excel spreadsheet, right? So the most important thing is the notes and the follow-up. So say you're sending it to me, Alison Edgar, Sales Coaching Solutions, you know, and you're going to put in your diary or whatever it is. Again, don't forget, you'll still struggle to get hold of people. It's the activity. So you phone up, Alison Edgar, hi, it's Noam. I sent you the Rubik's Cube. I just wanted to double check. Did you receive it? Okay. Yeah, I got it. Okay. And what was your thoughts on it? Oh, I really liked it. I love the way you went to that effort. So the purpose of the call today is to find, you know, what you currently do for your graphic design. And again, I'd imagine, you know, if they might say, oh, I've already got a graphic designer, and you go, oh, that's really brilliant. I'm glad that you see the importance of that. You know, just out of interest, if you were thinking about changing your designer, if one meant that you literally, you've had a bad experience and you're thinking about changing, and 5 means you actually do it in-house or you're in love with the one that you use, where are you on a scale of 1 to 5? Oh, actually, we're a 2, because like most people have got suppliers, but we're not always happy with the suppliers that we've got. But by asking closed questions, you're going to gain nothing from that conversation. What you're trying to do is find the crumbs. Think about the sale being Hansel and Gretel's house. And every time that customer speaks, they'll drop little crumbs. It's your job to pick up the crumbs, but so many people don't listen to what they're saying. And they might say, well, okay, I've got one, I'm really happy with them. Oh, that, no problem at all. How about I'll touch base with you within the next 6 months or a year and see how, you know, if the situation's still the same. But you've got your Rubik's Cube anyway. I hope you enjoyed playing with it. You know, something like that is really important. And then if they say they've not got the Rubik's Cube, but you can say, oh no, I sent it to this person. And anyway, and then you take the Rubik's Cube as an aside. Anyway, the purpose of sending you the Rubik's Cube was to find out what you do for your graphic design. So the Rubik's Cube is kind of irrelevant to that conversation. It's a good conversation opener. But if they say they've not got it, don't go, oh no, I have to send them another one. Just say, oh, well, I'll double check what happened with that. Anyway, the purpose of the call was, and just carry on from there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's great. Super.
Anyway, so you can go back and revisit that.
That's a great tip for everybody to always know what the purpose of the call is when you pick up the phone, isn't it? To have it written in front of you.
Especially to the red blues, Emma, because they'll just shoot you down in flames if you don't know what the purpose is.
Exactly. So Abigail, question from you. Come in.
I have a question about selling face to face. So I'm really fortunate. I have some of my jewelry in the studio with Signal, which is going fantastic. But selling in person, I find sometimes can go really well and sometimes goes really bad. How do you sell in person when you have no idea who's going to turn up to an event? So I sell a lot at shows and things, but every time I sell at a show, it's like a completely new crowd of people who are walking in the door. And sometimes I'll sell quite a lot of stuff, and other times I won't sell anything. And I find Christmas is great because everyone's looking for a present, but in like the time leading up to Christmas in the summer, all my sales sort of really drop at shows. So how do I manage that, if that makes sense?
I think, again, for you, I would say I would banish that word sales from your vocabulary and just think it's all customer service, because that will help your confidence. And honestly, a wee bit like I said to Liz, like, you know, oh, it's good to see you at the show. What prompted you to come today? What brought you here? What were you looking to get from today? And again, what you want them to find out is, oh, actually, I just thought I'd have a little look. Oh, okay. Some of the reason people come is to try and get gifts. So loads of people are trying to stock up on their Christmas gifts or birthday gifts. You know, how do you normally shop for the gifts? Just have a chat. Literally, all you're doing is having a conversation. Oh, actually, do you know what? It's Sue's birthday. Okay, what do you normally get, Sue? You know, what kind of jewellery does she like? How much do you normally spend on her? So, oh, I spend 25 quid, she quite likes silver. So in your head, you're eliminating, and you're, again, what does the customer need? Not what does the customer want, because they probably don't want anything. They're not in that thought process. But just literally having that wee conversation with them will start to, like, just let them talk. All you need to do is fire out an open question and let them talk. And then they will give you the information that you need to be able to see. And again, you know, Kenny Rogers, know when to hold in, know when to fold in, know when to walk away, know when to run. Sometimes, again, if it's a relationship focused person, they'll be talking about anything apart from jewellery. They'll be talking about the weather. And again, that eats your time up. So the purpose has got to be kind of around jewellery, not just general chit chat. Otherwise, you'll spend all your time talking to that person and you might have missed the opportunities.
Yeah, which I find does happen quite a lot, because I quite like talking to people and finding out how they are as well. So
yeah, but again, funnel the questions, not in a you know, get them onto the topic which you love, is jewellery. So get them talking about, how do you normally find your jewellery, and what do you do, and you know, don't get them talking dribble drabble about the virus and all that kind of stuff, because it's not going to put any money in the till at the end. They might take 20 minutes of your time, and then you've missed the opportunity. So when it's okay to have chats, but have it around how they shop for jewellery, what kind of jewellery they like, what do you think the trends in jewellery would be, how does, you know, what do they do for, when do they start shopping for their Christmas presents? You know, things that are relevant to your business, but in a conversational customer service way.
Okay, fab, thank you.
Also, Abby, be aware of what they're wearing, jewellery already, and if you've got any cleaning materials, offer to clean a ring or a jewellery. And whilst they're standing there and you're doing that for them, you can say, oh, this is a lovely piece, tell me the story. You know, you can find out more about them with, I've done a lot of shows and I call it the cause for pause. You've got to give a person a reason to stand there in front of your stall and stop, because it's like spiders in a web. Everyone's lined up behind their thing, waiting to pounce on the person going past, and people can feel a bit kind of under the cosh. So if you're just kind of there offering them value before that you've even asked them to put money in your pocket, that can make people feel really comfortable with having that conversation, and then be like, oh, this is nice, you know. And as Alison says, having a conversation that is value driven, not just about the weather and all the rest of it, can lead to an increase in sales, definitely.
Thank you.
Can I just ask any of our new shop staff, what are the barriers that you've experienced with customers? What are the things that made, if anything, made you feel uncomfortable or unable to sell? Or do you have any questions for Alison, basically? Maddie, Gemma, Tamara, Max, any of you? Who's going to be brave?
Can I step in? Oh, Jem.
Gemma's up.
I was just going to say, a tricky one has been, because it's a very new place, is people walking in already with a negative attitude, that they've turned up and they're like, oh, this stupid shed place, this is awful, everything's closed, blah, blah, blah. And it takes a while then to get them into the frame of mind of actually seeing the positives of anything. And sometimes you just can't at all. I wonder if there's any advice on that, if that's the Kenny Rogers, just give it up.
They've come in for a reason, right? I mean, the why are they, I think it's inquisitiveness, why are they in? And it might be just to say, oh, that shed place, blah, 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 blah. But then the positive is that you are a retail outlet that is open, you know, and you are making a difference in there and you're supporting businesses and all the rest of it. So again, I would just and then ask another open question. All right, so why do you think that's affected the retail in our area, and how do you think that is? And what do you think the solution is? Without going smart arse, what do you think the solution is? But throw it kind of back, ask them, what do you think the solution is? And then if it is Kenny Road, you know, if it is just they just get too much time in their hands and they're just being miserable, then just talk to somebody else, or just say, oh well, then there's a wee brochure, you can come back in another time. And, do you know, it's not, don't get dragged in, because when you start to hear negative thoughts, it rubs off, doesn't it? It just rubs off. Maybe they're right, maybe they're not. Whereas you've got to stay in that positive frame of mind all the time. Yeah. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
I love your backdrop, BTW.
Yeah, it's great.
We found it in the skip.
Lovely.
Perfect.
Okay, well, I think, Emma.
Yeah, I was going to say it's just gone 11, so it's time to call this to a close. So thank you all very, very much for coming. It's been a very enlightening talk and afternoon, and morning even. Thanks, Alison. Thank you all for coming. Stu, any final comments?
No, just keep smiling, keep moving forward. We'll all see you at the Bosque, and we'll have a celebration that we're back in the room and things have turned around. Thanks so much today, Alison. I'd listen to you for hours. Start a podcast or some kind of thing that we can all sign up to and listen to.
Well, I've just landed a TV show for Amazon, US and UK, so you can watch me on the telly. But in the meantime, the book is on Audible. Both the books are on Audible. So if anybody is an auditory listener, but and I've got the offer, if anybody does want a wee one-to-one specific to their business, literally that includes the online courses, the book and all that sort of stuff. And just again, you've seen the value that I've given in the room, that I can really hone in on people's pipelines or whatever the challenges are directly. So I need to go because I have to be on another call and I can hear it.
Thank you, Alison. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Take care. Bye.
Bye. Soon. Bye now. Bye. Okay, and everybody else, remember July the 21st and August the 6th are the next two big dates in the room. And of course, next week we have our collaboration session, which is also online. So don't forget to sign up for that. And then the final week, which is the mastermind, both of those are with your host, Stu.
No,
and no,
I'm on holiday.
Oh, we're on holiday. Both of those are not. Neither of those are with Stu, because Stu and Gemma are going on holiday for 2 weeks. Yay. Fantastic. So yes, it will probably be me in that case. So that's fantastic. Glad I've spotted that one. Lovely to see you all. Lovely to see all your smiley faces, and we'll look forward to seeing you all very soon, next time, next week or next month. Thank you. That's all from us. Goodbye now. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.